So, my name is Jim Dattilo. I've been writing for Choice of Games, Host of Games, and Heart's Choice for the past 14 years. Um, Mostly interactive fiction, so using choice script. Today, I'm going to talk about how to represent disabled individuals in interactive fiction. It could probably extend to fiction, but I want to focus on how you can use choices in the games to drive how we interact with people with disabilities, mostly physical disabilities, because obviously that's kind of close to my experience. But I think it extends to everyone, and it's really good that Hannah went before me, because I think a lot of about building characters is about making them more robust than I think people with disabilities have been represented in the past. Can we go to the next slide? I'll go fast. This first slide is really talking about kind of what I want to go over. Um, so it's kind of like, what is the main problem? Um, Most of the time, in my experience, disabled characters have been mostly symbols and not really characters. So they're there to inspire, but they're not really there to be interacted with. They're not there to share their stories. I often say, even in my personal life, um, I often meet people, and their immediate reaction to me is, "Oh my God, you're so inspirational." And I'm thinking to myself, what did I do? I was in the hospital a few weeks ago for a week. I don't recommend that. Um, and I had my partner there, Vicky. She was helping me, and I would have nurses and doctors coming over and saying to me, "Oh, it's so great that you actually met someone and you're married. It's amazing." And I'm thinking in my head, like, we met online. Like, I don't. I mean, a lot of times I don't remember that I'm disabled until someone points it out to me. Or like an elevator's down, but that's, a whole different thing. So basically, I want to talk about how to make well-rounded characters and ones that you're going to be able to affect the story and not simply be some accessory that you collect as a character. Next slide, please. So, I guess I've already talked about the first one. Um, it's where I'm not here to be inspiration or to teach anyone anything, maybe outside of this room. Um, but so I don't want to make any character, regardless of who they are, just there for inspiration. Um, I think some of the other things that we see often are, um, a tragic backstory. I don't know many people with disabilities that have, been exposed to gamma rays. Or, um, I'm not Iron Man. And so I don't really think that that's as realistic. I think it can work, but you have to be careful about how to make it work in the story. Um, I guess the other main thing is magical. Not yet. Thanks. Magical cures. Just having a character that you can suddenly magically cure. It's kind of weak, and it makes it sound like a disability is something that needs to be cured, and that's a very dangerous path. Now, there are times when I've actually even put that in my own game. So one of my games is Vampire the Masquerade Out for Blood. And in that, it's in the Vampire the Masquerade world. And there are special mechanics for how to heal over time. But it comes with deep costs and outcomes that are kind of greater than the narrative itself. So there are times when it can work, but you have to be very careful about it. Because again, disabilities are not to be necessarily overcome. It's more about adaptation. And how does that character affect the story in a greater way? And now, I guess I wanted to highlight some characters that I either like or worry about in fiction. Can you hit the next? It'll pop up the first. Just hit next. Thank you. So the first is Barbara Gordon. She became Oracle. Not only does she have a completely kick-ass wheelchair, but she adapted after a tragic injury to be something that was maybe even greater than she was before her injury. And I think that's a really amazing way to show a character how they changed over time and how they adapted to their experience. You can hit the next one. So this is kind of a character that I'm not really so sure about. So Avatar, it's a huge movie. I mean, probably seen by, I don't know, 1 billion people or something. In the movie, they did focus on this character, Jake Scully, as someone who was paralyzed and had to overcome. But they kind of focused more on how to almost like escape being disabled. And I think that's a dangerous precedence. I do list them there because it's also about representation. And there are so many people that saw that movie that I'm kind of 50-50 on whether or not it's a good character. I mean, for raw representation, it's amazing. But I think if you look deep into the message, it's a little dangerous. Hit the next one. Who doesn't love Professor X? I grew up with Professor X. I had probably 600 or 700 X-Men comics until, unfortunately, my mom threw them away. I know. But again, one of the best characters, one of the most powerful in the X-Men universe. And, great characters have played Professor X. And I think he really shines a light on all the aspects, again, that probably Hannah was better at talking about with being a well-rounded character. So, and finally, just because I really like Esmeralda from Curse of Strahd, if you've ever played the game, arguably the most played D&D campaign. And, she was this monster hunter, got her leg bitten off by a werewolf, but her motivation was to keep fighting. So she found a way to make a prosthetic leg, and she went right back to it. So it was about adapting to the situation and just keep going. Okay. So why is interactive fiction so different? Mostly because when we play games, we are affecting the outcome of really everything. Without the player to drive the choices, it's just a book. So in my games, I strive to give you opportunities to meet characters, to interact with them. Some of the interactions are going to be positive, some are going to be negative, and they're going to provide a way for you to understand maybe even more about yourself. I've actually put into Vampire the Masquerade for blood some of my own experiences being disabled. I actually like when people help me. So if someone holds a door for me or gets an elevator for me, I kind of appreciate that. I have a friend, Mary Ellen. She aids anybody doing anything for her. If you go over to her and offer to push her manual wheelchair, she will grab the bars and lock it and say, "Get the hell away from me." So I put a part in the game where you get to interact with a character, Adam, and you get to kind of talk to him a little bit about, do you want some help? Or you could just try to help him and he'll get upset at you. And that drops your relationship score. And if you keep getting those drops in relationship scores, there's going to be some major outcomes later in the game. If you, gain relationship score, it's going to open up different paths. And if you listen to him and understand him, again, different paths will open up. And I think that's the power. So if you're going to learn about the character, then you're going to be able to maybe find out more about their backstory, help change them. And I think that's where interactive fiction really helps us all to learn more about all types of characters, and in this case, disabled characters. I'm trying to go quick, so this is actually a snippet of code. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but I wanted to go more on why it's important. So in this story, you actually can work out kind of a cure with one of the vampires for Adam. However, it's possible he rejects it. It's possible that there comes with some very steep consequences for both you and Adam, and even for the vampire who could do this. There's also paths where Adam might on his own go off and seek the cure on his own and actually kind of, screw you over. But again, consequences. So, and it's really how you interact with him that decides how that happens. Okay. Very quickly, romance is very hard in general for people to write about. It's a comfort level thing. And with people with disabilities, it becomes even more about comfort, not being awkward, trying to understand what are the limitations, what makes it beautiful, what makes it exciting. And those are the things I like to explore in my game. So you're not just playing through the game and saying, well, I'd like to romance this character. It's how does that character and the romance actually affect the plot of the story, and how does it develop the character? Not just Adam's character in the case of Out for Blood, but how does it affect the person who's playing the game? So those are the things that I really like to explore with romance, especially with disabled characters. Actually, let's skip this one because we're running out of time. I just want to acknowledge Choice of Games and Host of Games. I've been writing for them for so long. I would encourage you guys to check them out. If you haven't, I've actually got some trading cards that I made for my games, if anybody would like some. Also, I've been working with Jason Hill over at Choice of Games for most of that time. So, thank you to him for his guidance. Every graphic here I owned or I took from public stock photos, no AI used. And I think I have about 1 minute for questions. So, yep.
You're a comic book with Marvel's Taco way chance?
I'm sorry?
Are you familiar with Marvel's Taco? To see your comic book.
Not recently, no.
So she got well at being time. I have a photo of my parents are deaf, and that was the only Marvel thing my mother and I ever watched together.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll definitely check that character out. Thanks.
In the interest of getting to the third speaker, we'll have to pause the questions, but if we could do some Q&A in the Discord channel. I know that a lot of people watching online would love to engage in further discussion. And on the cards that you made, are you going to indeed sign them in the coffee break in a second?
Yep, I will.
Fantastic.
All right. Thanks, everyone.